Hello everyone, welcome to another horrible Daily Muppet after our second game of the season, a 4-0 defeat against Brentford, and what can be considered only a complete and utter shellacking. And I think this was probably the worst game. I think this was probably the worst game I've ever seen as a United fan. And I don't think it's being overdramatic to say that. The game versus Liverpool was obviously just about as bad. But it was Liverpool, not Brentford. And it's hard to find the words to say to talk about this because there's so much. I wrote like 3 pages, typed up like 3 pages worth of things to organize my thoughts because I've had family things and all that, but I've spent like the last 2 hours just spinning with so many things to say. And, first on the game itself, simple, and I don't want to get into it too much because of the points I'll bring up in a moment. De Gea, awful, horrific, like season-killing horrific, the types of mistakes that David De Gea is making. He's been making them for years, and, it reminds me a lot of the game where Ole said, was it Burnley? Well, I don't remember what it was even anymore. We said a lot of these players won't be here anymore. Unfortunately, many of them were. Everton, 4-0. It was that level of bad, a bit worse, because that was at the end. That was when we had sacked Jose Mourinho, and we were at the end of the season, not after summer. And that's what makes it so much worse. But De Gea he has no business playing in this team. But it's a symptom. It's a symptom of the problem. I think that Ten Hag misjudged him entirely in terms of what's necessary to play in the Premier League and what you can get away with, but it doesn't matter. He has no business playing at Manchester United in the modern game. He has no business in modern football. And that is an indictment of the club and the plan overall and what I want to talk about. There's no cohesion, there's no plan, and there's no sense. And it all comes back to the start of all of this back in March. When they started and moved on to the path of hiring the next manager, they brought in Ralf Rangnick. Ralf Rangnick was a very poor coach. Said all the right things from a management perspective, but here's the point of it. Then they shouldn't have made him a coach. They should have made him just an advisor, because how bad he was as a coach and how much problems he caused, and was a lot, was not helpful. But I understand why. He's a club builder and he was brought in as a coach. It doesn't make any sense. But regardless of all of that, moving beyond Ralf Rangnick, when it came back into March, I told you, and I'm sorry to say it like that because it's going to come across like an I told you so thing, but I told you this because I really want it to be understood why I brought this up, why I bring this up now, and why I'm saying it, because I think people are going to get the wrong impression, and I may not be communicating it as best as I could. I may not be getting my point across properly. I may not be saying it right, but I told you that the club were overriding the football people. That the people at the top were overriding the football people and ignoring what they wanted. I told you that was the case, and it is absolutely the case, and it is everything that is wrong with this club, and it is everything that is relevant to what's going on right now. It's not about, we should have hired Pochettino, because I know people will hear what I'm saying there, and they will instantly make it about that, because I said there are football people who back then who preferred Pochettino, who looked at the club, who analyzed it and said that he would fit the team better. And they ignored them and went with a different manager for different reasons. That isn't my point. It's a symptom of the problem. I've stuck by this, And I've said it for a long time. I said it back then, and I need it to be understood why I'm saying this now, because it's not about get rid of Ten Hag or any of that. I'm trying to make it clear, so just stick with it for a minute. I've stayed with this idea, and I know it for a fact, that the club override the football people time and time and time again, and that as long as that is happening, there's no chance at United for things to work. And the reason I was concerned is I said, I really hope they didn't hire Ten Hag for the wrong reasons, because if they hired him for the wrong reasons, it will not work in the end, no matter what. No matter how good a manager he is, it will not work in the end if they hired him for the wrong reasons. All of the shit that they said, all about we're doing this, we're doing that, we're fixing the club, we're doing this, we picked Ten Hag. Remember the stories after they chose him. Oh, Ten Hag impressed in his interview. Oh, Ten Hag, we wanted a modern coach who fits into a modern structure, who doesn't want control, who doesn't want to choose things, who's just a coach, and Ten Hag fits the modern style and the way that football is moving in the future. This isn't about Ten Hag, what I'm talking about. It was all bullshit. It's a fucking lie. Every single word out of their mouth was a lie. It's just nonsense. And there's people who watch this who are around the club that are not going to be happy I'm saying that. And it probably hurts some of the chances of certain connections and things like that, but it's the truth. And I'm tired of them lying, and I'm tired of it. They don't give enough. They don't give enough to the fans and to people and to supporters and people like myself who try to support the club and try to present clearly what they're doing to fans, and try to, even at times I've even tried to help to maybe be a bridge between the club and fans and try to get ideas back and forth, but they don't give enough back for that to be defended for these kind of things. And I said it back then that they do this. They totally lied about all of it, about the modern structure, about everything, about choosing Ten Hag because of that. They totally lied. He is a modern coach who should fit into the modern structure. I said he comes from Ajax, one of the best organized clubs in Europe for recruitment, for development, for youth, for all of it. It's so well organized. With Overmars, who was there, obviously he's not there for other reasons now. With Van der Sar, it's so well run that that he could not be brought in. The one thing you can't do is bring him in for the wrong reasons and set him up to fail by making him have to do everything instead of just being a coach and not getting the support he needs. But they lied. They said he was brought in to be the coach for a modern structure, and then they didn't do any of it. There are football people at the club who are no longer there who said Ten Hag doesn't fit this squad. This squad is not made for Erik Ten Hag. If you want a manager who's getting the most out of this squad, it's not Erik Ten Hag. It doesn't fit him. They said in order to bring Ten Hag in, you're going to need tons of players. And Ralf Rangnick said 10 people. And I don't even necessarily agree with that. I'll go back to that because I don't want to make it about the players, because it's actually not. I said, they said many things, these people, the football people at the club. They said many things that I've brought up for months, and time again back then I brought it up. I understood it. I said in March, I've said it many times, I think it'll take too long to build Ten Hag's squad under this ownership for it to work. And that's the reason I wanted Pochettino, because I wanted a manager who'd worked on a shoestring budget and did wonders. And you know what? I'm wrong. But so is everybody else. We're all wrong. Any of it, all the discussion about it, Ten Hag, Pochettino, all of it, it's all wrong. It's all incorrect. That's the problem. It's all wrong. None of it will work with the way that things are set up. So we can argue it amongst ourselves until we're blue in the face about it, like we all did. So no, it's not. I'm not sitting here and talking to you and saying we should have hired Pochettino. No, I'm not. That was wrong too. But I'm trying to talk about this. I'm trying to explain why I'm bringing this all up, because it is relevant to what I know and what I can add to the discussion about the Glazers and what they're doing to this club. In specific, what are they doing? What are they actually doing right now that is ruining Manchester United, that is stopping it from succeeding, that is stopping it from making it, that is stopping us from having the team, the club, the success that the club deserves? There are football people, and there were football people at the club, and their ideas are consistently ignored and overridden. So if you want me to be Glazers out and talk about it, this is how I will talk about Glazers out. This is how I will say Glazers out. This is the argument I will present for Glazers out. There's plenty of people out there and groups out there and fan groups and things that have their angle for Glazers out and their thing for Glazers out, and they're all right. Every one of them is right. I have no disagreement with it. I'm not a local fan. You know this, obviously. I'm an American. I'm not a local fan. I cannot speak to the reasons why people want the Glazers out that you are there in Manchester. That you are saying, I can't speak to those things truthfully because I don't understand them and I don't have the same connection to it that you will. That's a fact. I can acknowledge that. But this is what I can do, is present what I know about how the Glazers are destroying the club from the inside with their actual decisions on an everyday basis. So yes, it's Glazers out. But I'm trying to tell you why, and I tried to explain it why before, and people didn't want to believe it. It's not Glazers out because they make the decisions you don't like, and it's not Glazers in because they make the decisions you like. That's not the reason for it. It's Glazers out because of the interference with everything. It's Glazers out because of the incompetence. It's Glazers out because they don't care, and because they have no interest in setting up the club for success the way that is necessary in the modern game, which takes investment, it takes effort, and it takes removing your hands from it as someone who's not an expert and letting people who know what they're doing run the show. That's why it's Glazers out. And every manager will fail because of that. So I'll go into this in a minute. Yeah. So I could say, yes, Pochettino. Why did I want Pochettino? For the wrong reasons. It papered over the cracks of the Glazers' ownership and not having a proper system that I thought he would do the best within the confines of what this club allows, that Pochettino would do the best because he's done it before for an owner who didn't give him funds and money and things like that. That's wrong. It's papering over the cracks. People wanted Ten Hag because he was a good coach, but there's no recruitment structure to support him. And they'll all fail because of that. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made plenty of mistakes, plenty. But I don't think he had what it takes, but it doesn't matter. In 2020, when he wanted Jadon Sancho, they lied to him and told him they would get him for him. They lied to him. They didn't give him what he needed, and they lied to him. That deal was off in August. In August, Dortmund communicated to Ed Woodward that the deal was impossible this summer. And they lied, and they continued with it through the end of the year, through the end of the window. He wanted Thiago, and like we talked about, I will do the Thiago tapes, and frankly, I'll put them out this week. I was going to wait until the De Jong thing was over, but it doesn't matter. Whether they get De Jong or not, to me, doesn't matter anymore on this. They don't deserve the chance to wait or to make up for it or the benefit of the doubt. They've already screwed up. They've already screwed up the season. They've already fucked it all up. And so they don't deserve the chance to wait and see whether they've changed their ways. I don't believe that they have. Whether they have or they haven't, whether they end up with De Jong or not, they don't deserve the chance for it. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted Thiago. So I'll give you a little bit of it now. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wanted Thiago. And you want to know the reason Thiago didn't happen? There's only one reason Thiago didn't happen, and don't believe a word that anybody says when they tell you that Joel Glazer doesn't put his hands in and involve himself in every tiny minutia of a decision. You know why they didn't sign Thiago? Where the agreement broke down? And they didn't tell you that they nearly had an agreement with him either. This is how close it was. Talks broke down over a single year in his contract, when he wanted 4 years and they were offering 3. Signing of Thiago, a world-class midfielder in a position we were crying out for 5 years now, or longer. Maybe longer. We haven't even signed good midfielders, even under Sir Alex. That was an area we ignored too often. But the entire signing of Thiago fell down over a single year in the contract. It was rejected by Joel Glazer specifically. He was unwilling to give him a single extra year in the contract when he was willing to take a significant pay cut over what he was getting at Bayern and give up an enormous amount of wages. 1 year in the contract. That was it. And by the time they came back and talked to him, he'd signed for Liverpool. And it was Joel Glazer specifically. It was Joel Glazer specifically who held that back. who stopped that from occurring. So, yeah, whatever you want to say about any of this, this is why it's Glazer's out to me, because it's the information I can give you. It's the perspective I can give you. So when I say, look, football people are saying this, I'm saying just do what the football people are saying, because no matter what, whether we agree with it or not, it's better than Joel Glazer. It's better than whatever decision he's going to make. It's better than any decision people who aren't football people are going to make. It's incredibly frustrating. I look at this team and I said, this is our best bet when I was looking at the manager thing earlier in the year. And I'm again, this is not about a manager debate. I want to make this very clear. I'm trying to explain it. I said our best bet under the Glazers is youth development and making do with the team we have with a few changes, because we're not getting those wholesale changes. But that's wrong too. Like I said, we might have lucked into it under Pochettino, like we nearly lucked into a few things under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We won't luck into it with Ten Hag, because what he's trying to do in philosophy and the disconnect between him and the players is massive. It's such a gulf, there's no way we're going to luck into winning. It may work in Europa League. Again, not an indictment of Ten Hag. I can't believe how many times I have to say this, but I know people are a bit sensitive about this right now. And, but what's the solution to this? Give Ten Hag all the decisions for signings? Are you kidding me? That's not the answer. You need world-class recruitment to provide the right players for a manager, but at a world-class level. Players who are really good. Really good. That's what City did. They didn't have a team for Pep. They gave him world-class players to fit his team with world-class recruitment. Same for Klopp. He didn't have a world-class team. His team was worse than ours right now. But they gave him the right players. And they provided the options. When he wanted Brandt, they gave him Salah instead, because they said, no, Salah is better. It's going to work. And look how that's turned out. Probably the best, maybe the best signing in Liverpool's history. Maybe one of the best signings in Premier League history. Mo Salah. And that's why I'm so livid. Arnautovic? Rabiot? How the fuck is that going to fix this? Tell me, somebody, how is that going to fix this? And so yes, Ten Hag is naive. Some of his way of setting things up would never work in the Premier League. But if he had his squad, he would recognize one shortcoming here, one problem here, and fix it. But he's got a million problems. If they had a football structure in place, which is where it always comes back to, they'd say, Eric, Frankie de Jong doesn't want to come here, but here's 5 players who would, that fit exactly what you need. Here's Basuma, there's Kamara, there's Nunes, there's this, there's that. We can get you any one of them. We'll get you any one of them. We will get them. We've done the background checks. We've looked into them. We've checked out their wages. We know, because that's part of scouting. That's how Liverpool scout. They check out all the things around them. They know all that before it even gets to that point. They would have said, there's 5 more. We'll get them for you. You want a big physical striker? Here's what we've got. Here's all the options. We've done the background checks. You want a 5'9" center back? Okay, why do you want Lisandro Martinez? What are the attributes that are key to you? What are the things you're trying to do? What are the problems you're trying to solve? Ball playing, aggression, sweeping, left-footed? All right, good. Here's 6 players who can fit it, who might be taller, faster, and more suited to the Premier League. That's what should be happening. No coach is perfect. Every coach is going to make tons of mistakes. That's why you cannot give them control of these things. And they're throwing him to the dogs by doing this. And it's all because they never actually intended to set it up right. They picked Ten Hag to suit the fans. They picked Ten Hag to appease the fans. And they picked Ten Hag to provide themselves with a shield for their lack of success. And that is what you're seeing now. And it's already turning. You can see it. And so that's why I want to stay away from talking about the players, because you can say, oh, all these players are shit. They're not. They're not. And people allow themselves to get too stirred up against it. Oh, this player's bad and this player's bad. They all have an agenda, myself included, in terms of favorites, who we like, who we don't like. It doesn't matter. I'm kind of done with it. You have big accounts out there. David De Gea is their favorite player. Who is our worst player today? Doesn't get a mention. Ronaldo, who hasn't done anything in the 2 games he's been on, doesn't get a mention. Doesn't matter. All of my favorite players have sucked too. They've all been terrible. It doesn't matter. They've all been bad, but look at it for a minute. It's not Ten Hag's team, and it isn't built for it at all. They're built for something else. And we've all fallen for it. We've all been fooled by it, by taking and talking about this player and that. And yes, many aren't good enough, but they're not this bad. None of them are this bad. You know, it's like, for an example, you take Ralph Rangnick. He had a lot of different ideas, but Jadon Sancho and Fred did really well under him. Almost like players do well in systems that suit their strengths, and that's why you have to build. Every time we hire a manager, we completely start over. Because there's no philosophy. You need a club philosophy, and then you get players who fit it and a manager who fits it, and they all tie together in cohesion so that you have a Sancho and a Fred who fit one style of play that matches your 5 or 10 other players that all are playing well in a different style of play. Not these 2 players play well for this manager, and these 3 players play well for this manager, and these 5 players play well for this manager, because that's what we've got right now. So, you know, many people are wrong for getting excited by the latest flash in the pan when it comes to a manager and club, which Ten Hag is. And I was completely wrong for trying to get a manager who papers over the cracks, because none of it matters at the end of the day. Ten Hag could be the best manager on earth, and I think he is a very, very good coach. And I've said a lot of positive things about him, and I maintain it, and I still think he'll figure it out. But it's not going to work. Not like this. It's impossible. It's papering over the cracks, every aspect of it. Neither are going to work, and nothing is going to work. And we cannot continue to let the club divert our attention from the problem. And the problem is, top to bottom, the ownership of the club has no intention of setting up proper recruitment and a proper system that will make it work for the manager. Ten Hag might not be the right guy. He might be the right guy. It doesn't matter. Without the proper setup, there is no right guy, because nobody is as good as Sir Alex. Nobody can do the whole thing by themselves, which is what he did, and is the main reason we're struggling at the moment and continue to. That's the only reason we had success, and it basically how great he was and how possible it was at the time before the resurgence, before so much money came into the game from oil clubs and things like that, really just allowed us to get away with not having the structure that we needed for such a long time. And there's nobody who can replicate that. And that's really what it comes down to. That's what's so frustrating. So I don't want to go after the players. I want to, I don't know what to do about it. What do we say? We don't talk about anything? Of course. We can talk about how this needs to be changed and that needs to be changed and this needs to be changed. But I'm not going to get into everyone's shit, sell everyone, manager's shit, sell the manager, change the manager. I'm not going to get into that. We'll talk about the games. We'll talk about what can be done to make it work. We'll talk about the improvements. But look, who are the players messing up today? Eriksson was the one deep giving the ball away for a couple of chances and in what happened. It wasn't Fred. It wasn't McTominay. Why? It was the wrong setup, the wrong play, because the goalkeeper made the wrong thing. And it all ties together, all of it. If we do not have the right system that suits the players, we do not have the players to suit the system, they both look like crap and both of them will fail. And the problem is all around. But the club really are the ones who, at the end of the day, have to make it right. And I'm sorry it's not this bad. I don't think that it can be this bad. I don't think the players can be this bad. I don't think the coach can be this bad. I don't think it's possible. It's a much bigger problem than that. And I know, people have been talking about that for a long time, and it's true. And I'm just trying to give my perspective on it, because this is what I can say. Because people can say, oh, they need to back Ten Hag and that'll fix it. And my point on it is that it will and it won't. It doesn't matter what decisions get made or how much money they throw at it if they cannot get their hands out of it and let the club run. And I don't think they're capable of it. And if they're not capable of it, then they need to give the club to somebody else who is capable of it. And there's time and time again evidence has shown that they can't. So anyway, a bit confusing, everything, very frustrating, all of it. I hope I'm coming across clearly and dredging up the past and the manager decisions, because what I'm trying to say about it is, and you can ignore it if you want, I've said it for a long time, and you can make it about a thing of you trying to say you're right about Pochettino or something like that, and I'm not. It has nothing to do with that. it's a symptom of the problem. And the reason I bring it up is because it was the wrong decisions being made time and time again. And that is not down to the wrong decisions because of picking the wrong people. It's the wrong decisions because they do not do football decisions. They're all made for other reasons. Why did 1 year on a contract stop them from signing Thiago? Was that a football decision? No, it wasn't. Why would you have to choose between a top striker and a midfielder? Was that a football decision? No, it's not. It has nothing to do with it. Football has no play into the way that a lot of the decisions are made. And nothing's going to change until that ends. So that's what I have for today. Thank you for watching. Leave me your thoughts below. Good, bad. Give me a hard time. Doesn't matter. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.